mental resilience. Um, and I suppose I'm taking a bit of a different take on it, and you'll see as we go through the presentation tonight. So I suppose just a little bit about myself and Fusion. Would be working across and have worked across elite level sport. Currently with the Tipperary under 20s as their sports psychology consultant. Did the same role with Cork City Women's, their senior team, and done some stuff with other squads there, and the same with the Waterford minor footballers and the Waterford senior footballers. I am accredited with the ISESA, so that's the kind of governing body in terms of certification in our roles here at the moment in the country. So I have the higher certification there, and I also work across organisations. You'll see there, I'm a gazing right to blue practitioner, the same with Spotlight. So look, a lot of work has kind of gone into this, I suppose, this area and an interest that I have. And I'm hoping that you'll get something from tonight's webinar. So just to, I suppose, make this very real, um, we have Aoife here. She's 15. She's in the county final, 800 meters. She is basically on the line with 8 seconds to the gun. So with this, with any athlete really, you're looking at how they prepare. You're looking at a lot of work that's kind of gone into it. So obviously enough, in this example, in this scenario, we have a number of people who have direct interest in Aoife in this very moment. And that's what we're kind of going to frame tonight's session kind of on and through. So we have the athlete, which is Aoife herself. We have the parent, our parents, and we have the coach. So again, these will all recognize things within Aoife. They will all feel pressure. They'll all have watched it, and they all need to learn how to read it. So an example like this, I suppose when I was putting this together, I envisaged that Aoife is nervous. She's putting herself under pressure. So you see the titles here on the right hand side. So don't mess things up. Her chest feels tight. She is fixed just solely on her lane. So her vision is essentially narrowed and she can't feel any of her training. So now we have the parent who is obviously in the stand, but would have traveled with Aoife. So she would love to do it for her. Like any parent with their kid, they'd love to do it. They don't want them to see pressure. They don't want them to, I suppose, suffer in any way. So they want everything to go well. She sees her shoulders, so she knows she's tense. She knew she was quiet in the car, and she can't do anything to help her. So, like any parent, we feel helpless. So then we have the coach. So he's on the infield. He can read the signs from there. So the 4 seconds to the side, does he speak or does he trust the work? So we have one moment and three windows. So essentially, they all will feel pressure and they will all have a reaction to that pressure. Okay. And that's where the resilience piece will be coming in. So, in terms of resilience, you can just throw this into the chat. Resilience means not feeling pressure. Do you think that's true or false? So, just drop a T for true and F for false.
I'm just trying to find the chat box there. 2 seconds.
Oh, yeah, I have it here. Perfect. Yeah, so we have kind of false coming in, which is great. Okay, absolutely. So, in terms of resilience and resilient people, we will still feel the pressure, but it's how we react to it is key. And I suppose that's what tonight is all about, is kind of giving you a language and giving you some tools that will help you deal with pressure, which will have an impact in on how resilient we are. So as you were saying there, so false, you're absolutely correct. So resilience isn't the absence of pressure. It's what you let keep performing. It's so basically how we keep performing while under pressure and how we bounce back from that. So this has been proven in the research. So Olympic champions all felt pressure. Resilience is how they kept performing under pressure. And I suppose the big thing with this, right, is this is geared, as I said, from coaches, athletes, and parents. The big thing is in terms of the athlete, themselves, they will have gone through things in life um, that will show they are resilient, that they have gotten through things, that they have they have dealt with setbacks. But how can we transfer that over? And a lot of the time, we actually don't necessarily do that. We kind of look at life and sport as two separate things, and we put a lot of weight on the word resilience. Are they resilient? I don't know, are we resilient enough? But everyone in the team or individual athletes will have gone through, disappointments, as we see here, recovering from setbacks, dealing with failure, going through difficult times, and kept going when things are hard. I suppose that's resilience. And the challenge isn't building resilience, it's learning to access it when the pressure appears within sport. So, for example, would have had an athlete who was working with myself, looking to build this area of their game, playing elite level soccer. So we kind of went through it, and the term resilience was kind of bandied about a lot within the squad, by the coach and the managers and whatnot. And it was an area they wanted help on. But they were struggling, they couldn't link the two. But at the time, that person kind of gone through a breakup. So long-term relationship went kaput. And I suppose what we kind of delved into and how we looked at it was that they still got out of bed, they still had to go to work, they still had to go training, they still had to do their daily tasks. Now, they weren't necessarily their happiest, they were down, they were upset, they were sad, they were all these things, but they still got up and did it. And that kind of shows that does show resilience. So we wanted to bring that onto the field. And what we had to do is we worked on a tool which you'll see later on in this presentation to do that, and it's called Clear the Signal. So what we're looking to do with that is we're looking to help access resilience. So by using such a tool, and you'll get a look at this there in a while. You'll get a few resources as well later on in the session. I suppose the core idea. So again, working with this athlete, we were talking, and you're asking them about how they're getting on before, or what they're feeling before performance, what they're feeling before their competition, and the way they described it kind of led to development of obviously this framework and a few other bits and pieces that led a link to it. But I suppose the way they described it was brilliant. So I asked them, could they remember their training? Were those reps starting to come back? Did they feel that kind of, did they feel like they were coming and being nearly, automatic at that stage? And kind of what they said was they were feeling fuzzy. And I kind of thought that was an interesting reply. And with it, we kind of delved down and we kind of got a really, really good example. And I suppose the example that we kind of got was, bringing you back to my own childhood. My mom had a really old Fiat Punto. And the only station we could get was Atlantic 252, which is long gone now, but it was crystal clear. And this was, I think, it was based in the UK at the time. But we couldn't get any local stations. And when we did, you could hear the presenter and a bit of music in the background, but all you could hear as well is static over it. So yeah, we could hear it and we got an idea of it, but it was still mixed with static. And that's where I suppose that kind of came as part of this framework. So I suppose with this, the core idea is under pressure, you don't lose your ability, you lose access to it. So going back to the radio, we weren't blind, or we weren't deaf, and we couldn't not hear anything. Yes, we could hear it. But the problem was we had static. And in this example, so pressure creates static. Static creates drift, and Clear the Signal helps us reconnect. So, in terms of that static signal, we actually can probably ramp that up ourselves. So in terms of pressure, right, and in terms of resilience, pressure is I don't like the word enemy when people talk about pressure. I think pressure is a privilege, but we need to learn how to handle pressure. So pressure gives you opportunity, but it also gives you and it gives your brain a little avenue to start, offering a little bit of doubt, offering that little bit of that inner dialogue to see if you're good enough or how you're feeling. And essentially then your brain goes looking for trouble. So the brain goes looking and scans your body. You're like, oh man, my calves feel really tight or my hamstrings feel tight. And then all of a sudden we kind of go, okay, yeah, do you know what? I'm not feeling great. The hamstring's a bit tight now again. And it nearly gives us an out because we don't want, I suppose, the outcome that we're going through in terms of that race. We don't want to kind of, I suppose, meet it head on and go, okay, yeah, I played or I ran or whatever I did, I was in boxing, and I just on the day it wasn't good enough. Whereas some people can start, so I was using that static to find an excuse before the event has even began. So in Aoife's moment, so we have the issue. So what's going on in these 8 seconds to the gun? Um, why is Aoife so worked up with this event? So if you think about it, Aoife is 15 years of age or 16 years of age, I think we said. And with it, she's got to a county final, so she's a good athlete. She's good at running. She's got her technique right. There's been hours upon hours invested in her passion for the sport. There's also been hours and hours of investment by the coach, maybe an S&C coach, whatever it may be. And with that, then there could be a cost. They could get, the parents could, and Sarah could, or whoever, sorry, Aoife could, be putting money into this to get the best coach available, the best S&C, the best everything. So then all of a sudden there's pressure. So this is an important event to her. So the more important the event, then the greater the level of static that can hit. So what's happening here? So we're 8 seconds from the gun. She says everything's feeling harder. So, go back to the weekend with the Cork Hurlers. I would bet if Cork played Galway in a league game in Thurles, that I think we would have a different performance from Cork. And it's something similar to this. So what's happening here for Aoife? Her racing thoughts. So now there's self-doubt. We've got an issue with how we're talking to ourselves. Body tension. So the heart is racing, muscles tighten, breathing gets shallow. And now our focus shifts, or drifts. Attention moves away from the task and into everything else. So she's trying to get loose. She's shaking herself before she gets down in the blocks. And then she looks over, she's the coach, or sees her mom or her dad. Then all of a sudden, oh my God, if I don't perform for them, they're going to be devastated. They put all this work in, they're after driving me all around the country, and I can't let them down. So we've gone off task. So our task should be sticking to the process of her technique at start, how she builds into her sprint, and then the race itself. Threat mode kicks in. So we're overthinking, we're rushing, we're reacting instead of responding, and then performance drops. So mistakes creep in, confidence dips, and the result slips away. So this is kind of what can happen in that 8 seconds. So that's a lot of information I've thrown at you there in that example, right? But with it, it's something that can happen to every single athlete. So, in terms of you look at Cristiano Ronaldo, you look at the best athletes in the world, I guarantee you that they might have some of these issues, but they have learned to deal with it. And more importantly, they've created space. They've created space for themselves to have it in their head, but they don't basically deal with it. In that moment, they use reflection for that. Um, so that's what's happening now for Aoife in these vital moments before she starts her race. So we've got static. So this is going back to the example of the radio back in my mum's car, back about 30 odd years ago. So we could get only one station, which was crystal clear, great, but she wanted to listen to 96 FM or Red FM or whatever they were called at the time. Couldn't get that clear signal. So what is static? So S, we stand for stories. It's the stories we tell ourselves. We've got tension, attentional drift, threat mode, interference, and the clutter. So we start off, Aoife's on the blocks. Before the static hits, everything's clear, it's great. All of a sudden then, static hits, we get the drift, and then we need a reset, and then we're looking to restore signal. So the 6 sources of drift. So the stories, as we said, so this negative self-talk, limiting beliefs. Oh, I'm not good enough. Oh my God. Look at the person next to me. They're huge or way more conditioned. They look really, really fit, or they won their last race, or whatever it may be. Tension in the physical stress and anxiety going with performing. So it could be nerves. It could be feeling sick. It could be the heart's racing, sweating, and just feeling kind of jittery. So we have the attentional drift. So we focus off task, as we said. So it could be going to anything. It could be looking at the stand. It could be worrying about the result. And ultimately, when we focus on the outcome of something and lose task of the process of getting there, that's going to be an issue because we can't control the outcome. So what we want to do is, in terms of Aoife and our race, we need her to run the best race as we can. So going back to her start, the mechanics involved in that, the mechanics getting involved into a full stride and then kind of letting loose and kind of racing essentially with freedom. Threat mode, survival brain takes over. So our brain is a fabulous machine. So it will look at every interaction we have and view it as an opportunity or a threat. So in this example, and if you look at is sport in general. Some people look at it as an opportunity, and some people look at it as a threat. When it's a threat, then that's a problem. That's where you see the person stretching their hamstring. That's where you see the person who's stretching their calves. Excuse me. Or you're looking at the person who would, a mistake happens and they look at the pitch or whatever else. They're looking for that way out. So the brain wants to reduce the future hurt and take you out of the game now. So I was working with a young athlete previously, um, under 14 or 15 with Cove. And what happened was unbelievably talented, but threat mode took over. And the problem with that was that then pulling out of games, pulling out of training, because they were worried about what would happen at the end result of that outcome. Interference, so the outside noise and distraction, and clutter, overthinking and overload. So these are all what static is made up of, right? The overthinking is a killer. And when I say, with clutter and my previous example of the elite level sportsmen and women who can leave space for that clutter and deal with it after, I think that's a really, really great skill to have. Because if we can't do that and we get cluttered, it goes back to attentional drift, it goes back to kind of slipping off task. So just in the poll, right? I suppose for yourselves, which static hits the hardest? Is it, and you can go back to your time as an athlete, or if you're a parent or a coach, I suppose which kind of hits home for you? Is it the stories, the attention, threat mode, or interference, or clutter? Just put the first letter of them in and be grand, or and for stories ST, for clutters leave it C. Threat mode, cool, thank you. Let's wait for one or two more. Threat mode for me, but it can be interference. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So again, going back to interference, brilliant. Um, Going back to this, right? So, what I want with this framework, this came around for me. I wanted to create like a menu for when I was working with athletes to make my life easier. And it ended up just evolving and evolving into a reset tool. And, then static came around. And a few other bits and pieces which you'll see in a sec. But to have a common language to deal with this is massive because once we can label it and understand it, then we can deal with it. Once we deal with this and we can tackle the static, then all of a sudden we know that our stories won't affect us. Tension won't affect us. Our tension will always be in task. We're not going to worry about the threat. We're not going to worry about interference or clutter. So all of a sudden, if you're a coach or the athlete yourself or the parent, and if you have this person who can deal with these, we're on the road into being mentally resilient in terms of competition. So to know the signs, I suppose your body and thoughts change before performance drops. There's a window. So the physical, the heart racing, tension, the mental thoughts, self-talking vision, the tunnel vision, distracted, reacted, not responding, rushing hesitation, mistakes, timing, decisions are off. So the athlete feels it inside, the coach and parents see it from the outside. But what we want to do is there's a window where we can recognize it, and that's where we apply a reset, and then we're looking to clear the signal that way. But I suppose it's being very in tune with yourself and doing it. So what I would say to athletes is with this, especially when it's a new concept, I would be saying journaling would be a really good tool to go with this because you look at reflecting back on performance, you look at reflecting back on competition and say, how did you feel? What did you notice? And again, we now have the language to go with it. We now can see in terms, was it our stories that was getting us? Was it our attention, threat or interference or clutter? So I suppose in terms of the team, the athlete, the parent and the coach, you know, it's like a multidisciplinary team that you'd see in elite level sport. So if you're the parent and you notice your kids are rushing, they're irritable and they're fussy, that's data, that's information. So, I would have seen it where the parents are getting more worked up about this event than the actual athlete. And I would have found, and I don't think it was intentional or anything, but parents kind of living through the kids in terms of their sport and the pressure they put on. So that's why you kind of reset your own cameras there before the result is gone. So ultimately, what you want to do in terms of as a parent is to be their support. And there's a few kind of tips later on in the presentation as well. But I think it's really, really important that you can help your daughter or son reset in terms of performance by being a detective and looking for that data, by looking for those interactions. How are they feeling? What way are they interacting with you or others around the house? So it's one sign you recognize in yourself for an athlete. In terms of yourselves, what do you recognize in yourselves when you're intense, especially if you're athletes or if you're parents? What do you notice in your kids? And the same with a coach. What do you notice in your athletes? One or two words, and it'd be very interesting to see if there are any commonalities. So, kind of, what do you see? Nervous tension? Yeah, absolutely. Seeing in dressing rooms where people become unbelievably fidgety, can't sit down, can't settle. Absolutely, yeah, great one. Can't eat. Okay, so then the body is kind of telling us something, isn't it? Okay, yeah. As a parent, kids have niggles before the start line. Absolutely, yeah, 100%. You see them shaking their legs, or as I said, stretching that hamstring. So again, we're going back to static. Static is hitting, okay? But that insight there, those insights are absolutely fantastic. So thank you for that. So now we've gone into drift. So pressure's hit, static has started. So those, as we went through it, the tension, the inner voice, essentially. So now we are in drift. So now we kind of we're moving away from our best performance, essentially. So what does it look like? Firstly, you start rushing, you hesitate, you overthink, your focus narrows, and you react instead of respond. So it could be to the coach who's giving you instruction, it could be the parents who's helping or encouraging them and they get snapped back. You overthink everything. And again, going back to Cork at the weekend, I think with 15 minutes to go, they were going for goals. So I would put that down. The focus narrowed. That they got obsessed by the pressure of the scoreboard. They started overthinking it, going, "Oh, we must get goals now." But if you've zoomed out and looked at the bigger picture, there are still 15 minutes left. Keep the scoreboard ticking over, you don't know what happens. So what does it feel like for the athlete? Something feels off. I'm trying too hard. I'm forcing it. I don't feel like myself. I need to get this back. So, if we have a poor start, we need to make up for it. Does that sound familiar to anyone? You can just throw a yes or a no in. And if you want to share which one sounds familiar to you, that would be absolutely brilliant. Drift happens before performance breaks down. We recognize it earlier to stop it sooner. And that's really, really important. So I'll see if anything comes in the chat there for drift. And this is just to kind of really make it hit home, right? Starting off, performance, clear head, happy out. We're looking at high performance because the signal is clear, everything's automatic, we're calm. We're kind of in flow. Then all of a sudden, we're drifting. So this is where we need to detect it. So small changes, they're easy to miss, but they're recoverable. And then if we don't have a reset or don't detect that as soon as we need, we go off signals, then confidence drop, decision making suffers, and performance slips. And this is then the chasing apart. So that's where we can make rash decisions, and that's where our kind of our focus can really narrow, which is a kind of a result of this as well. So what can we do? So we have cleared the signal. So this is, I suppose, essentially the reset tool. Now this is just, I suppose, explaining it. The reset tool itself look very, very similar, but it's later on in this presentation. So what we're looking to do, we're looking to detect it early. So we're looking, are we noticing has our heart rate spiked? Are we rushing? So an example for anyone really, regardless of whether they're an athlete or not, could be a job interview. But you sit down and you're waiting to go in, and all of a sudden your heart rate rises, the temperature rises, and things start speeding up. You sit down for the first couple of minutes and you're rushing your answers out instead of being cool, calm, and collected. So how do we clear it? We'd be looking at breathing. So box breathing can be really, really good, and that's in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. Or what you could do as well is in for 4 and out for 8. The big thing with the breathing is the exhale out. The longer, the better, and that kind of activates the system within ourselves that can help calm us. So then we're looking to move on from clear to lock. So eyes on target, next action only. So again, going to team sporting, the next ball, next tackle, whatever it may be. But what we want to do is we want to say, okay, this is the one thing I'm going to focus on, and we're going to go at this 100%. And the big thing is execute. We do that with intent. So we don't half go into a tackle. We don't half, in terms of striding or straight length, whatever it may be. We don't half do it. We do it to the best of our ability, and we execute it as close as we can, but we commit to it. And that's the most important thing. And we have mild drifts, we have our breaths, moderate drift, we can have a 10-second reset, or severe drift, 10 to 30 to 60-second reset. So again, the earlier we can notice it and the earlier we can get a reset in, the better. So the reset, so 10 seconds any sport. So detect, so am I drifting? We breathe, we reset the body, our next action, and we trust and commit. So we can't fix something that we haven't noticed. We can't fix that static if we don't notice it. So if we need to be aware, and catching it will become a skill, and recognizing it will become a skill. And this was what I say to athletes is you're looking to do and replicate pressure. So if someone like myself is involved with, we say, an athlete, individual athlete, I would work with their coach, their running coach, their boxing coach, their tennis coach, their football or soccer coach, whatever. I would work with them to basically implement pressure to the athletes. So, people will say, again, going back to Cork, people will say that Cork didn't necessarily have the same pressure until they got to the vital moment, the All-Ireland semi-final. And did they replicate it? I don't know, they probably did. But if they can replicate it, then they can start fixing it. But if they can replicate it and feel that same pressure on All-Ireland semi-final day, it's kind of a bit late then to rectify it in that instance. So clear, so 4-second breathes or box breathing. So I won't get you to do this now, but box breathing is really, really good. So it's again something that if I'm working with an athlete, I would have them doing this at home, watching TV. So it's like stepping into a car. But what we want to do is we don't want to kind of step into the car just in competition, because then we're kind of going, oh, what key is it? I don't know, because I've never stepped into this car before. Oh, does the door stick? I don't know. I've never got into this car before. But if we can get into that car and do that regularly at home in training, all of a sudden, it's like anything. You go into your house, you know exactly what key it is. You know exactly what, this door sticks. Do you have to kind of nudge it in to get in there that bit quicker? Everything becomes so automatic, and that's what you're looking for with our breathing exercises as well. Oops, sorry. Lock, so we're controlling the controllables. So again, if a mistake happens, we're not looking to worry about I suppose, the end of the race per se. We're looking for that next action. So, in terms of our technique, are we hitting our technique right? Are we pushing off, the way we want to do it? I suppose what we want to do is we want to take control. So flips from threat mode into challenge mode. So you have a bad start as an athlete, in the track. Do you focus on that? On the outcome being, oh no, I won't win, but again, you can't control it. Or do we view it as a challenge going, okay, the poor start, but can I recover? And when we switch that and flip it into challenge mode, that is a huge advantage for any athlete. So then we execute, we trust the work, we commit fully, we go. I suppose we can't half commit to it. And you see it in sport where, especially as a parent and a coach, and the athlete themselves will know, but we can tell when someone pretends to do something, they half do it. That bit of intent, and that's a word that's really, really important around this kind of model, is it's really, really important that they do it with intent. Not worry about the outcome, but if you're looking to peg back a lead for that next phase, you're going at it with intent and trying to get as close. And what happens if you're coming up to home straight and you're on that person's shoulder? If they're looking back or they get a call or whatever it may be, and they know you're on the shoulder, the pressure's on them, then not on you. But you've committed to it, you've executed, so you're going full tilt. So then we have our signal restored. So clarity returns, focus sharpens, aligned action leads performance. So resilience is never about not drifting. It's running the reset again and again and again. And going back to that car, it's the more often you get into that and do it and do it and do it, it just becomes second nature. But I suppose we need to take confidence too in the fact that, you know, athletes will have gone through massive challenges in their lives. It could be college exams, it could be the leaving cert, relationships, family matters, whatever it may be. And they will have found a way to deal with it. And that is resilience. So what we want to do is we know it's there, but what gets in the way is that fuzziness, that static. So we want to be able to clear all that. And then we know we're a tough person. We know we can deal with whatever is kind of thrown at us. So clear the signals. So this is the reset. It's more or less the exact same as the previous one, but it's just designed differently and laid out differently. It's more in the process. So we go to detect. Are we rushing? Or can we catch it early? We're looking to clear with our breathing exercises. We're looking to lock on to the next target and do things with intent. And then we just execute with trust, commitment, and we go with the flow. We have once we do that and we get into flow, the signal is cleared. And if we do find we are getting caught again, we just reset and start the same thing. So we have our breaths, our micro breaths, our short reset, our full reset as well. So the resets can vary. You can have with this, with your breathing, you can actually have a physical exercise. So for athletes, I would say obviously it's different in running, we'll say, but you could use it beforehand. But I would say, like, athletes wear a hair bob and flick the wrist. They have a statement to go with their breathing exercise, and it's all done kind of instantly, really. And that can be part of your reset. You kind of need the physical action to kind of help your reset as well. So just with we're coming to the end there now. So just with, I suppose, this, right? I wanted to give a few bits and pieces to athletes that can use these, right? So what I will do before we log off, I'll put something into the chat. If you just log into it or click on it and just sign up with your email address, I will send this out in a bit of a booklet for you, maybe 3 or 4 pages just of little kind of cue cards that we can use as athletes or parents or whatnot, okay? So again, we're looking at mistakes. Okay, we notice it, we acknowledge it. What we don't want is to go, oh my God, Dennis, I can't believe you made that mistake again. We go again into our deep breath with long breath out, and then we're locking on our next action, just that one thing, and we commit and go again. But what we don't want here is that voice, again, I'm going back to threat mode, that voice will go, oh my God, you made this mistake. You have, you're going to embarrass yourself or let the team down or whatever it may be. And we need to stop that early on. So in football, it's next ball. Volleyball, get hands, swimming long and smooth, golf, stay smooth, and running next step. And this is something that can be really helpful for athletes after making a mistake. So the signal check. So again, the 5-point checking before you kind of step into pressure. So we have our body, our mind, focus, breathing, confidence, etc. So how are you feeling? We score it and we look at it. I score 1 or 2, we need to reset. Score 3, we need to make mild adjustments, and the 4 over, we've a clear signal. And this can be something very easy to do just before competition. Have it printed out or whatever it may be, and you can use that kind of going forward. For the parents, this is kind of something that came up through conversations with athletes and parents and whatnot. The car home can be tense. Some parents are brilliant at it. They don't even talk about sport. It's absolutely fantastic, and they kind of they let things be with their son or daughter, but some don't. So we don't want to add to their already existing static. So what happened out there? Why did you do this? You should have done that. Did you win your own battle? You need to practice more. So all of a sudden, we're getting him to be defensive or shut down or increase self-doubt, become outcome focused. Did you win your battle? Did you win the game? How many scores did you get? And then all of a sudden that gives pressure. Whereas with less pressure and clear the signal, and in some instances, parents are unbelievably passionate about the sport. They played it themselves. They might have operated really high level, so they get it. But imagine the car ride home where the conversation is, geez, I love watching you play. It doesn't matter what the results. It doesn't matter if you won or lost. Did you enjoy it? What did you enjoy most? What did you learn? What can you take forward? How are you feeling now? So I suppose the big thing is parents stays calm. They focus on the effort, attitude, and learning. It's supportive and positive, and we let them reset themselves. And it's important for the parent to be able to clear signal as well. As I said, they love their kid. They could have been, if it's a team sport, a dirty tackle on them, they go off injured, or look against the local rivals or whatever it may be. But the car ride home can be a place where pressure builds and static builds for athletes. So we need to be very mindful of that as well. So the coach, again, similar enough. We don't want to add the static. We want to keep it clear. So we got one instruction, one cue. We stay calm, steady voice, powerful questioning. We reinforce effort and process, and we model composure. So again, we're not looking to roar or shout at them. We're not looking to give out to them when they make a mistake. We're looking to support them. We're looking to basically help them clear static and not add to it. Oh, sorry. So, so now we're back to Aoife to finish our talk, right? So this time we have Aoife who has studied or worked with someone like myself. They understand clear the signal, they understand the resets. So they're now back at that starting line, different to the start. So now nothing's changed. The crowd is still there, the pressure is still there, but she's able to detect if she's drifting. She's able to clear it with her breathing exercises. She's locking on to her next action, next cue, and she's going to fully commit. So she might win, she might lose, but she'll run her race. There's no static here. So the outcome is the outcome, and she's not worried about the outcome. She knows that she's looking to perform and be consistent, and more importantly, kind of get into that flow and that trust when she has kind of executed and locked onto that task. So that is the session done. What I will do there now, I'll stop sharing and I will put this into the chat. So sorry now. So if you want, this is just a link to sign up to a mailing list. And what I can do is for people who sign up, I will send them just a few kind of a few cards that you can use for this and based off kind of clear the signal and a few exercises and all that. So if anyone has any questions, lads, fire away.
Dennis, can I ask you one quickly?
Yes.
Yeah, just around, I suppose overthinking. Like, I know it seems like a funny one, but sometimes people, I suppose athletes I work with can be a bit on the over passion side, and they might overthink every step of the race.
Yeah.
Is that something you've come across before?
Yes. In nearly every sport. And I suppose the first question I asked them when you recognize it is, how does it serve you? So in that example, if we're thinking of something and we're thinking of every single step, we're gone off task. We're not looking to execute the technique or the drills that we've done in training. Where overthinking can be used to a benefit is Sir Steve Redgrave. He was in the Olympian with England or the United Kingdom. He has the most gold medals in their history. Before his last gold medal, he would have visualized the race. So that's where the overthinking came in. He went through every part of the race, visualized it, got up on his bike. He knew exactly how he was going to prime his muscles, and every single step he'd gone through in his head. What happened was that event is over in like 90 seconds or something crazy like that. He ended up winning that event, and he kind of said after he shared the story I just did, and that race went exactly how he visualized it. So I would be working with athletes with that example. If they're overthinking, we'd use that as a way to prepare. So their brain can't distinguish what actually happened and what we daydream, or our brains even. So visualization is a really important tool that can help build confidence. So when we build confidence, we can visualize these steps. We know the steps we're going to make, but we don't want to be overthinking we're on the blocks. We just want to be, this was clear signal as we kind of went through in the talk, and we're looking to do our next step or action with intent and fully commit to it.
Perfect. Thanks a million, Dennis. I just have one or two more that came into me there. Um, Around how I suppose, is there any techniques you'd recommend around staying calm when you feel like you're under a lot of pressure? You know, just like when the whistle is about to go in a game, or when the gun's about to go off in a race, or the hooter in a basketball game.
Yeah, breathing, as we said, is a really big one. It's a lot easier in team sport. So when I see athletes, especially in team sport, who are getting anxious, I always tell them to go for a run because their man will follow them. In terms
That
of,
is a very good one. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but would say in terms of racing, then I think the biggest thing to do as a coach would be to have a what if. So you work with your athletes and you say, okay, what if Aoife gets nervous just beforehand? Is there anything I can give her to expel energy? So a really good one that I get athletes to do in the dressing room is they're just shaking their hands and they're shaking their feet. Because when we get nervous, chemicals build up in our hands and our feet. So when we shake them, that kind of dispels it or disperses it throughout the body, and it can help reduce nerves.
Perfect. Thanks. No, I'd never heard of that before. And would you recommend people to have a pre-game or pre-race ritual?
Yeah, again, it's, I would probably have my visualization script. I would have my visualization script done out. I'd be using that. I'd be using music and I'd be using breathing. You're in the dressing room. You could be visualizing the race. You're walking around. You are going through your visualization script while listening to music. What you'd probably do is, or what you would do is, you would start off kind of calm, nice enough music, and you kind of have your in the dressing room. Through experience with the coach or yourself or the athlete, you kind of build it up gradually in with kind of up tempo songs, but you'd be going through your visualization, your breathing, staying cool, calm, and collected. I actually have an online platform that I kind of athletes can sign up to, and this is kind of all done up in it. And it's kind of the athlete can self-learn and put together their own pre-game routine and visualization script, and they obviously do it in kind of one-to-one sessions with myself as well.
No, perfect. Thanks a million. Thanks a million for that, Dennis. That last one's actually coming from athletes I work with myself. So no, that's everything that's come in there. So I think we're good to go if nobody has any more questions, and Dennis has all his details there anyways if anyone wants to learn a bit more from him. And it's Fusion Performance. Dennis, is that the website as well?
Yeah, fusionperformance.ie is the website. Fusion Performance Coaching on Instagram, on TikTok and stuff as well, and Dennis Lorden on LinkedIn.
Perfect. And can you send the presentation out afterwards,
I
Johnny?
can indeed.
Yeah,
Um,
brilliant.
what I'll do is, I think Ashley asked that. Just throw your name and email address, and I can send you cards or kind of reset cards and stuff as well. But what I'll do is I'll send Craig, I suppose, this presentation as well.
Perfect. Thanks a million, Dennis. And as I said, guys, we should have a recording, but if we don't, it's not my fault.
Brilliant. Thank you, lads.
Thanks, guys. See you soon. Dennis, I'll be in touch anyway.
Perfect, Craig. Thanks a million, bud.
Thanks for having me as always.
No bother, buddy. Bye bye.